It's 2026, and I'm finally going to play Star Fox Zero. Let's check it out.
Good luck.
It's 2026, and I'm finally going to play Star Fox Zero for the Nintendo Wii U. This was one of the very few games I have left on this system that I just haven't had the chance to play, the urge to play. I was looking forward to this game when it was coming out way back, and I couldn't wait for a new Star Fox experience. And you know what? The last couple days, the last couple weeks, I've been talking about Star Fox 64, one of the greatest N64, greatest Nintendo games, and I really have been having a desire to replay Star Fox, whether it be Star Fox on the SNES, Star Fox 64. I've been having the desire to go back into this franchise, and I said, you know what? I'm finally going to play Star Fox Zero. So again, 2026 finally is the time when I'm going to experience this game. I know this has a lot of people scratching their heads going, why would you do this? Why would you play Star Fox Zero? And the honest truth is, I love the Wii U. I really did. I loved this system. And this was one of the games, one of the last games for that system that I ultimately passed on. After hearing the reviews and everything, people were pretty upset about this game. I was disappointed that it wasn't this great thing I think all of us were looking forward to, but I never had the chance to form my own opinion on this game. So I picked it up on Amazon. It was brand new with Star Fox Guard for $30. And I said, you know what? Now is the time to go ahead and dive into Star Fox Zero. So that's exactly what we're going to do today, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So here we go. Alright, so here is Star Fox Zero. This is again brand new in 2026, right off of Amazon. Literally like $30. I couldn't believe that, A, they were still selling this game this cheap, and I know the reception of it, but hey, a brand new Wii U game in 2026 for $30 that I haven't played? Hell yeah. So here we go, Star Fox Zero. Beautiful cover art. I love this cover with the R-Wing in the new form. And you get a bonus game, Star Fox Guard, which I've actually heard is quite good. So opening this up, I took the seal off. We can go ahead and open this. We get a really cool Star Fox symbol right there, and inside are the two games. So let me take those out, and these are our games that we are going to play. Star Fox Zero, sealed, again, really cool. I like the idea of like a double pack. I think that's so neat. And Star Fox Guard, which I love that cover. Look at that. And on the back, just some cool artwork. And again, for Star Fox Zero, that's our cover, and that's some of the information on the back. But really cool to see, even when this game was coming out, just a double pack of stuff like this. I really love this idea. There's amiibo support. I'm very curious what the amiibo support is. I don't remember. I remember seeing them in the Nintendo Direct and some people talking about them back in the day, but again, really cool and excited to dive into this. So let's go ahead, put in the Wii U, and let's get started. Star Fox Zero came out 10 years ago in 2016, one of Nintendo's final exclusives on the Nintendo Wii U. I was a fan and supporter of the Wii U even when the console was doomed from the get-go. Nintendo's darkest time was during the Wii U era, where I felt like the company was against all odds, and thankfully they had the 3DS to help keep them afloat while Nintendo was cooking up the now beloved video game industry changer, the Nintendo Switch. Well, as a fan of the Star Fox franchise and the Wii U, I was so
saddened by the reception of Zero, and I even tried the demo available at the time, and it just didn't jibe with me. In 2017, the Nintendo Switch came out and shook up the world, and I was fully expecting, or should say hoping for, a retooled version of Star Fox Zero that made the gameplay experience more streamlined, but as the years rolled on, I had to accept that the dream of a new port of Star Fox Zero coming to the Nintendo Switch was a dead dream. As I still collected and picked up titles for the Wii U over the years, I always gave Star Fox Zero the side eye. It was a game that had so much promise and intrigue to me. I was really curious too with its release coming with an additional game, Star Fox Guard, which was a tower defense game featuring Slippy Toad, which I thought was pretty neat. Well, recently I have been itching to play Star Fox, and I figured, you know what? I think it is time for me to finally dive into Star Fox Zero. The game was $30 brand new on Amazon with Star Fox Guard. It was hard to say no, and I can now finally close this chapter on the Wii U and play Star Fox Zero. Going into this game, I knew that it was essentially a retelling of the classic Star Fox story from Star Fox on the SNES and Star Fox 64. Yet again, we are experiencing the story of Star Fox 64. However, this time around, we are getting the experience more fleshed out with new gameplay options such as the R-Wing and its various forms, boss battles, and new and old vehicles we can go ahead and control throughout our mission. If you are someone who hasn't played Star Fox, the best part about this game is simply the gameplay. It is an awesome on-rail shooter where you take to the skies as Fox McCloud, leader of Star Fox, and fight alongside your teammates and put an end to the evil Andros and his army. Star Fox Zero has some unique quirks with its gameplay, and arguably it is the gaming that is the biggest glaring issue. In Star Fox Zero, with the inclusion of the gameplay on the Wii U tablet, you control Fox's R-Wing, and also you're controlling the R-Wing on the television. And when you're playing this game, you are going back and forth using the cockpit view on the Wii U and also your ship's view on the TV. You also have to use motion controls, and while you are using motion controls in cockpit form while using the Wii U tablet, you can get more precise shots. At first I didn't think it was essential, but you really do need to blend both gameplay types by looking at the TV and also looking at your tablet. There's simply some things you just have to do back and forth, and it is a little strenuous, but it does work when it works. Star Fox Zero was acceptable for most of my playthrough, and I was genuinely surprised by how playable the game was, given the major backlash I remember hearing at the time of release. Well, that was all about until halfway, where I got to officially control the Landmaster for the first time. I was struggling for a little bit trying to operate the vehicle. The tank can only aim up and down, and this vehicle absolutely requires the combination of using the Wii U gamepad and the TV in tandem. Sometimes when you get the flow right, this game does feel really satisfying, pulling off precise shots via the gamepad and motion controls. But when the controls slip up because of simply how much is going on, it feels like you are failing, not because of the game's difficulty, but because of the convoluted nature of the gameplay. There are times where you see Platinum try to correct and ease these controls with an alternate form, but again, it feels convoluted because now there's yet another button combination and form to think about while playing this game with these unique controls. While playing through Star Fox Zero, it was clear right away that the game wasn't an issue. Star Fox honestly has never looked better, with the visuals being the best rendition of Fox and the gang in a Star Fox game. I love the care put into these character models. Even seeing the characters in the cockpits is such a nice touch and attention to detail. Character portraits all updated too, while keeping that core Star Fox aesthetic alive and well. So here we are talking about the biggest potential Star Fox comeback, and it fumbled all because of poor controls only? Yes and no. While I do love the traditional Star Fox story from Star Fox 64, I gotta say I need to see this franchise move on from this. When Star Fox was taking risks on the GameCube with Adventures, yes, I know it was originally a completely different game, and also Star Fox Assault, Nintendo was trying something new with the franchise, where Rareware tried to salvage a failed project, Dinosaur Planet, with Adventures, and then Nintendo tried to follow up with Adventures with a sequel, but more back to its roots of Star Fox, with on-foot missions and gameplay styles that felt like a step in the right direction with Star Fox Assault. However, the innovation of the franchise died on the GameCube, and the franchise was on ice until the Wii U. I'm not surprised by the initial reactions going into this game with a massive eye roll, seemingly going into the classic story yet again. I feel like the franchise is creatively bankrupt since we keep returning to the story every opportunity the IP gets to come back. In conclusion, Star Fox Zero was a game that had a lot of promise. Finally, after years of waiting for a new Star Fox experience, we got it back in 2016. Unfortunately, this game is a victim of poor timing and horrible controls. Star Fox Zero at the time felt like a knife in an already deflating tire on the Wii U's life, and while personally I found this game to ultimately be okay, there are glaring issues here, and I can see why this game was panned when it was released. Star Fox Zero's presentation and story are arguably the best versions of the classic story, but at a cost. Dealing with cumbersome controls and a rehashed story yet again for Star Fox, it is unfortunate that going into this game as the latest in the franchise, we are ultimately already familiar with the story. I'm happy to say I finally played Star Fox Zero though. It was one of the last few games on the Wii U that I still needed to play, but the experience felt very middle of the road. When it works, and I was having quite a bit of fun when I was feeling that synergy with the gamepad and TV. However, the positives of this game fall short in comparison to the fighting you'll be doing with the controls. In 2026, if you are genuinely looking for a great fresh take on the Star Fox characters and formula, I wholeheartedly recommend Ubisoft's Starlink on the Nintendo Switch, where you can play the entire game as Fox McCloud and even play a DLC that is dedicated to Fox McCloud and the related Star Fox characters like Star Wolf. The game is a No Man's Sky meets Star Fox-like game. It was a surprise hit for me personally back when that game came out on the Nintendo Switch, and I fully expected a new Star Fox game to be made by that team, but unfortunately nothing came of it. Star Fox is a franchise Nintendo could do so much with, and I hope for a future entry in the franchise to try new things and not latch on to the now tired retelling of the original story time and time again. Perhaps with the new announced appearance of Fox McCloud in the new Super Mario Galaxy movie, we have something new and exciting on the horizon for us Star Fox fans.
And that's it. Star Fox Zero has been played, and I gotta say, while it's not perfect by any means, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Star Fox Zero is Star Fox 64 with some quirks. I still wholeheartedly recommend Star Fox 64 and Star Fox 64 3D, which is on the Nintendo 3DS. I think that is probably the best tasting of Star Fox. I think that is the best version of this game, this franchise. There are also the really good GameCube games as well, Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault, which I will also recommend out there. But Star Fox Zero, this was a game, like I said in the intro, that I have been so curious about for so long. And while there are some hiccups, such as the always on motion controls, there is an option you can change, but you will need to still tilt that tablet in certain ways. This game looks great, and I really love seeing Star Fox and the gang. Please let me know in the comments down below if you played Star Fox Zero. What is your favorite Star Fox video game? Please let me know in the comments down below. As always, my name is Brandon, and I will see you all next time.